Great photo.
How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for coming out. People are still getting here, so we're not going to stall too much. One thing I want to mention too, if you didn't see him, Todd Graves was here earlier. You'll see some pics on social media. He had something that came up, so we apologize, but he was able to stop in for about 45 minutes earlier. Again, thank you all for coming out. We got people from all over the country. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to screen the short. It's a short documentary. It's under 10 minutes long. And we're going to do a Q&A with myself. John, who is featured in the documentary, will be up on stage with me. And also John's son, Rob, will be on stage. And we're going to do a Q&A, and then we're going to open the floor, ask some questions. You guys ask some questions, and kind of go from there. And thank you so much for coming out. I think we're ready. If you guys are ready to see it, thank you so much for coming out.
We were fans. I worked at the newspaper, but I was a fan. And we decided that we were going to write a book about Pistol Pete Maravich. We did it at the end of his junior year. We called press and asked press for permission to talk to Pete. And Pete got on there. He said, sure, we'll do it. So we had Pete to ourselves for 3 days. And we got to interview him just one-on-one. The interview, I think, is a highlight of the book. And we had 10,000 copies of our book. We charged $1.
What do you guys think about John?
Yeah.
Boy, was that a setup. Listen, everybody, thank y'all so much for coming. Drew and I got to be really good friends about 6 or 7 years ago. He's really kind of being nice to me right now, kind of lay this off on me. Actually, Drew has written a full script on Pete that he is going to produce, and I think it's a film based on the storyline he's taken. I guarantee you there's some people in this world who are going to get a lot out of watching that movie. And for some reason, this is the guy from Ohio. They're going to have to excuse him. He does support Ohio State.
Go Bucks.
That's not a problem. We've overlooked that and been good friends anyhow. But he is a hard-working guy. He actually filmed this 2 years ago. He's been working. This is not something he just threw together, got out of a Cracker Jacks box. He got me out of the Cracker Jacks box, but the work was done pretty good. And thank y'all so much for coming. I really appreciate y'all coming. There's supposed to be a question and answer. The first thing I'd like to do, though, is to thank everybody for showing up.
We do have Ralph Ukala is here. Ralph, you want to stand?
Ralph, please stand, Ralph.
Also, Russ Bergman.
Russ.
Two of Pete's teammates, college teammates at LSU. And just thank you all for coming. What we're going to do now, let me get started. I want to kind of share how we met, and we'll go from there. And then we're going to hopefully hear some stories and open up the floor. So all of these stories, not even about Pete Maravich. There's so many stories where John is just at the right place at the right time. And they're just amazing. So I've got to hear a lot of them, and I want you guys to have that same opportunity tonight. So let's start out, though. I'll start it out, and then Rob. So John, one of the first things that we talk about in this is Press Maravich. Tell us a little bit about Press Maravich and your experience with him. Press is Pete's dad, if you didn't know that.
Well, we got two guys that are here tonight, and Rusty, Ralph, y'all don't mind. I got a question I want to ask y'all in a little while. Okay, something that's been bugging me for a long time. Now that we got you worried, keep your seat. You don't have to leave now. Thank y'all both for coming. Well, Pete Maravich. First time we saw Pete Maravich was his introduction as the new LSU basketball coach. LSU basketball the last few years has been pretty successful. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but at the time they were kind of down a little bit. A coach named Harry Rabenhorst was here. He had been here for years and years. It's his family that owns the funeral home. And no, the pace that they played at had nothing to do with the funeral home. That was the way they played the game at that time. But Harry had been here a long time. And LSU tried to take a step up. Well, they went to a guy who was kind of disgruntled because he had just won the Atlantic Coast Conference basketball championship. His name was Pete Maravich. And the reason why he was disgruntled, he was the assistant coach. The head coach became ill and had to miss the season. And Pete took over. And Pete won the ACC championship when he wasn't supposed to do doodly squat. The next year when he came back, they had a problem. The old coach decided to come back. And the school had to decide between the old coach who hadn't won anything and Pete Maravich who just won the ACC. Needless to say, Pete Maravich was available to LSU to replace Harry Rabenhorst. Because in one of the great mistakes of all time, and one of the great things that ever happened to LSU, Pete Maravich got canned. And he was so ticked off that at the time the LSU job was not really a great job to have, but he just wanted to prove to everybody that he could coach basketball. And he got the job. And when he came over, it's true, he got up and he said the same thing all the coaches say. I'm going to come in, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I came here to win. Well, the thing is with Pete, and I got two guys up here that can really attest to this, he decided that's exactly what he wanted to do. You got two guys who are horses that are here tonight. You know, Pete got all the publicity because of these great passes and the great shots and everything. But it was Ralph Euclid and Rusty Bergman and Hickman and Trivett. These are the guys who were setting the screens and taking and pounding with somebody trying to get to Pete. And these are the two guys when Pete would get the ball and go down court, and you'd see everybody in the stands would get up just to see what the hell's he going to do next. And here's Pete coming down, there's Trivett going down one side, and Bergman down the other side, and Euclid going up the middle, because they knew that if they got open, Pete was going to throw the ball to him. Pete had the reputation as a shooter, he deserved it, 44 points a game. They got some teams don't score 44 points. And these guys would get themselves open, knowing that if they did, they had a good chance that they were going to get the ball. There's no telling how they were going to get the ball. But it might come between his legs, it might go between his back, he might bounce it off of his head. He might even throw it straight from the chest, which would surprise the heck out of everybody. Okay? But they would get open. These guys would work their cans off because they were out there to win. And that's the one thing that folks didn't realize is that Pete and Pete played this game to win. When we interviewed Pete, he told us that the behind the back deal, everybody, he said, look, don't get me wrong, I love it to hear that crowd yelling. And, you know, he's getting a rise. Not only here in Baton Rouge, everywhere you went around the SEC and every place he played, there was never an empty seat after his sophomore year. Never played to an empty seat. But he would go behind his back, not so much to show up the opponent, but he explained when we had that interview, Drew, that he went behind his back because the defense was trained to follow the basketball. And if he had the ball and he went behind his back, they would go after the ball, and there was no way to get to it without fouling it. When he went between his legs, same thing. They were trying to follow the basketball. When Pete would whip a pass across the court for a layup, remember, Pete didn't shoot that on purpose. Anybody thought he was out there gunning, he was LSU's best offensive weapon, no doubt. He had to take some shots. But these guys get themselves open. He would throw the ball because for 3 straight years, people seem to forget that Pete set the SEC record for assists. That's other folks going to basketball. So when Pete did all this stuff, don't get me wrong, he said he loved hearing that crowd go crazy. But he did it because he was trying to win a basketball game. And I was really happy that his senior year, he finally wound up, they were 21-8, which they went to the NIT the last year he was here. So now y'all know why the family in the back felt so bad knowing that I had unlimited use of this microphone.
I think one of the stories that no one really understood, no one really thinks about, is that throughout Pete's entire career, and Dad, I'm throwing this to you again, never won a championship. High school, college, or NBA championship. And that was one thing that drove him, but he never got there. And I know you know a lot more of that than I do, Dad, so I'm going to throw that to you.
Well,
Although you think he won a championship.
well, I got to tell you, we put the book out after his junior year, with the idea being that we were going to come back after his senior year and finish the book. Steve did all the research. He handled all the money, you know, and I did the writing, took some of the pictures, and in fact, most of the pictures.
All the money. $1 a book.
Well, you can tell that you had a couple of fans putting that book out. We charged $1 for it. I will tell you. Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now. Somebody told me about 4 years ago, somebody had gotten one of the first 100 that we printed, and it sold for over $400. And last week, somebody checked on that 10,000 has now become fairly limited. If you happen to have a copy, hang on, because last week I think it was $127 for a copy. So if you have it, it's a little bit more than $1. Okay. But we were supposed to come out with another one after his senior year. A lot of folks know this, but a lot don't know that LSU and Pete Maravich did not end on good terms. In fact, LSU kicked Pete out after his senior year for not going to class. He had a few other things to do, like going around the country, representing LSU at all of these banquets where they were naming him Player of the Year, All-American. He missed so much class, I think it was an English professor who was on the LSU board who says this guy's missing, he's just using LSU, and Pete wound up getting kicked out of LSU. So we didn't finish our book. So that was going to be our finish. All these years, I've been wanting to go back. Steve and I were going to do this. We were going to come back and finish our book. There's been a lot of great books written about Pete. Thank goodness. The last interview that anybody, I was at the Morning Advocate, and the last interview anybody did with the Advocate was me, 2 years afterwards, because the only time Pete Maravich ever played in the LSU Assembly Center, which was later renamed the PMAC, the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, for a long time as the LSU Assembly Center. He only played in it one time, and that was 2 years after he became a pro, and they arranged an exhibition game between the Atlanta Hawks, which is where he was, and the Houston Rockets. And my boss, Bud Montet, sent me up to Savannah, Georgia to see Pete, because I was one of the few guys that Pete knew and kind of trusted, because at the time, you got to understand, the sports writer that I was trained to be, we wrote about the games, we wrote about the sports, and we wrote about the heroes. And today, the way things are, I feel real bad. Sometimes kids don't have a chance to have heroes. Who gives a rat's butt what goes on off the court? You're there to tell about what went on the court, okay? The star of the show is Mr. Pete Maravich, not some guy with a microphone in his hand, okay? So that's just a personal aside. But Pete never did win this championship, never did on the court. But I got to tell you, all of this stuff coming up with Drew. Drew's movie is outstanding. Y'all need to find out a little bit about that, Drew. He's kind of shy being from Ohio. You know how it is with the Ohio State people. Yeah. But I have to tell you, as so many things have happened in relation to this movie that he's making, not this thing y'all saw tonight, which thank y'all again for coming. But so many things have happened. Earlier this year, I had a kind of a medical adventure. And while I was sitting up, well, I was actually in intensive care for about 17 days. So, in fact, they told me I didn't make it into the pearly gates, but I was in the suburbs. Anyway, a lot of things went on, and things start falling into place that have happened over the last umpteen years, going way back when, including Todd Gray's playing shortstop, not only for me, but for Rob and Toot and coming up. And Todd, his little sister was my little bat girl. She's the executive producer of this thing. Anyway, all these things have fallen into place. And it finally hit me after all of this years and all this stuff, I have a finish for my book. All these years sitting there waiting for Pete to win the championship so we could write about it. All these years are going on so we could write about it. Even Pete making him a great comeback. I mean, he was down in the dungeons. He's hitting that hard stuff. Sat in a hotel room one night with a 38 and thought seriously about ending everything. Didn't do it because of Gideon Bible. All right? When Pete sold out to the Lord, he went full-fledged. And I believe a lot of what went on is so that he could be introduced in South Carolina, where basketball, people are just as nuts there about basketball as we are here about football in Louisiana. But I believe that part of Pete's legacy was so that when he came out to be introduced at a Billy Graham revival rally in a stadium in South Carolina, and they did introduce a guy named Maravich, the guy who was the host for Billy Graham that night, says, ladies and gentlemen, to give his testimony, is Pistol Pete. Mm-hmm. As one, the crowd went berserk. Do you know how many people that might have been in that one stadium just hearing Pistol Pete Maravich give the testimony that he gave, whose life might have changed? I think his whole success story is based, I think that Pistol Pete was up here in the penthouse, wound up in the outhouse, just so he could be introduced by Billy Graham in South Carolina. He took it on. He did everything. He goes and becomes an evangelist. He was exemplary. If you ever want to do something, go look at him on YouTube. You can pick it up. It's worthwhile looking at. But it couldn't have ended any other way. I think the Lord had done what he needed with Pete. Half a heart, shouldn't have lived past 20, shouldn't have lived till he's 10. I think he was done with it 40 years old. He heads out to California. And it couldn't happen any other way. No TV cameras, nothing going on, a pickup basketball game. Just a bunch of guys who played every time in lunchtime. Pete gets out there. Pete, you want to play out there? And they all got the chance to say they played with Pete Maravich. Drew tracked this movie down. This guy works. When you see something with his name on it, you can count on the fact that it's accurate. And he doesn't do it just one time. He finds some supporting document. But anyway, you just saw the end of it. How else could it have ended for Pete Maravich, who was raised from this high to be a basketball player? Went through all the stuff that he went through. I think the Lord had said, okay, Pete, you've done your job, brother. And in a pickup basketball game, in a church gym, Pete Maravich's heart finally gave away. And he died in the arms of an evangelist named Dr. James Dobson. Okay. And that was Pete Maravich, 40 years old. Now, how much of a lasting legacy? Somebody says, Drew's coming up with a movie. There was a great movie made on Pete, but that was his younger life. Drew's movie is going to be about what we just talked about what Pete might have really been put on this earth to do. And I think a lot of folks are going to get something. I can't wait. I think his ending is wrong, but that's all right. He's the guy that wrote it. To tell you the truth, I think what he's doing is setting you up for the sequel. So, but it's going to be super. But even with all that I just told you, that's not the ending to my book. I'm going to let you in a little thing. If I ever do get up to it and trying to get me to do it, Rob been trying to get me to do it to finish that book, I got my ending. And it wasn't in the hands of Dr. James Dobson. I got my ending when we were kind of getting together trying to find stuff and going online to find this and to find that and to find this and to find that, and saw a little blurb of somebody who wrote that he had interviewed Pete Maravich, and that Pete Maravich had said one of the greatest things that had ever happened in his life, the greatest things that ever happened in his life, is that his dad, Press Maravich, who had gone through a lot of things up and down just like Pete did, his dad, Press Maravich, became a Christian and converted to Christ. And Pete Maravich is the one who had a hand in doing it. And ladies and gentlemen, Pete Maravich won his championship. It just blew the ending to the book, but it was going to cost you more than $1 anyhow.
He's great.
Don't get me. That's why they were scared I had this mic. So, and Ralph, I hate to put you guys on the spot, but one question I always wanted to ask and never had a chance to do. We all watched Pete go down that court with that ball behind it, wherever it was going to go, and you guys are busting it going down the court. How was it being on the court with Pete Maravich, knowing that you might get the basketball, but not knowing exactly how you were going to get it? If either one of y'all would like to address that, I'd like to hear the answer.
Ralph?
Basically, you kept your eyes open. You played with Pete long enough. You knew that something was going to go, that it wasn't going to be a straight pass. So if he's looking at you, just go do what you want to do. To be honest, on a fast break, I got the rebound, so I usually just trailed. I didn't have to worry about which one guy was going to throw it. And by the way, I am from Ohio, too.
You like oysters? Ralph, you've been down here so long. You're one of the few Ohio coon asses that we have. And Rusty went into coaching.
Well, what happened most of the time, like I was one of the lucky guys that got to fill one of the lanes on the outside with Pete bringing the ball up to court. And many, many times I had that question asked to me, were you not worried about getting hit in the head with the ball from Pistol Pete? And I said, no. I said, all you had to do was just keep watching him, and you knew when the ball finally came out of his hands, it was either going to be on the other wing to the other guy for a layup, or it was going to come to you for a layup, because they were always going to try to stop Pete. So you just had to make sure you watched long enough that the ball was definitely coming to you or definitely coming to the player on the other wing, and then you had no problem laying it up.
Well, I got it from the horse's mouth right there.
And Dad, the first part of the question was about Pete not coming back, being basically thrown out of LSU.
Yeah, anyway, he left. He got back with LSU basically because of Dale Brown. Dale Brown had his team playing somewhere, maybe Oklahoma City or somewhere like that, and Pete happened to be in town. And Dale called Pete and asked Pete if he would come and speak to the LSU basketball team. And when Pete went to talk to him, he did. But those guys didn't hear what they thought they were going to hear. Pete came up, and Dale told me this story. He said that Pete came out there and said, you guys all want to be professional basketball players. He says, most of you will never make it. He says, you guys are in college. He says, go and get yourself an education. He says, you got a chance of making it then. He says, let me tell you something. He says, I've lived life in the NBA. He said, I've had all the adoration at LSU, and I did all that. And he's the one that told Dale about the pistol. And he said, I was sat in that room. He said, I was down so bad He said, I seriously thought about taking my own life. And of course he did, thank God. But when he talked to the LSU basketball team and talked to Dale, they got a relationship going. And there's no way that LSU and Pete Maravich shouldn't be together. No way. And Dale had played a big role in that getting back together.
And that's what they named the PMAC?
The PMAC was, well, you got to understand, the PMAC was named for Pete Maravich as an afterthought.
Yeah.
But it would never have been built without Pete Maravich.
Right.
There was a move. They used to play what was called the cowboy.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to the LSU rodeo, it still exists. Dirt floor. You know what we're talking about. Ralph and Rusty, they'd run down there, and they had a real home court advantage because they knew where all the bad spots were in the floor. Going up and down. And that's what LSU played basketball in. The last 3 weeks of the season, LSU played their home games at Catholic High School or some other place that had a gym big enough for them to play basketball in. They weren't drawing flies, so it wasn't hard to do that. But that's what they had. When Pete came in, they didn't have enough place for people to sit down. And I always thought that the game that put the Pete Maravich Assembly Center over was the USC game when they played Southern Cal. And all the students had gone home for the holidays. So all the people thought that they had all these seats available. And they were going to go into the Pete and get to see Pete because you just couldn't get tickets. I mean, you guys were so popular. It wasn't just Pete. These guys had their following too. They knew how hard these guys worked. At the Southern Cal game that night, they had an idea if the LSU folks would turn out because the Southern Cal game was played on a night when there was a huge thunderstorm. And I went outside with my camera, which shows how much sense I had. I went outside with the camera and took a picture of people, 8 and 9 in a row, stretched all the way down Highland Road in the rain. Nobody wanted to leave because they didn't want to lose their base of line because they were going in there to get those vacant seats because the students had gone home for the holidays. One minor problem. Students showed up. So they had all those people outside. They had the students inside. They did the best they could. But that's the night I think PBAC got its biggest boost to being built because they saw a chance to do it. I will tell you this, just as an aside, I went around to see how much area these people were covering. I mean, they were all over the place, just standing out there in the rain. And I got to a side door, and there was a window broken. Somebody had literally broken a window and got in to see the ball game. And I will tell you, if you don't think the Lord works in strange ways, I always wondered who did that. And Rob and I found out who did it in Grand Isle, Louisiana.
And where's Kenny Allman? Kenny? He ran out. His name is Denny Wright. And my brother Tut and Denny used to do a radio show together, but Denny Wright is the actual student who didn't even go to LSU. He was playing basketball for USL, which is now, you can say UL, but USL. Back then, I think it was the Southwestern Institute or something, whatever it was at the time.
Well, when I started
Denny Wright, who played for USL, is the one who broke the window.
Yeah, Denny told her that we sitting up there enjoying the night with Denny and his bride down there at Grand Isle, and he finally let on. He's the guy that broke into the LSU Assembly Center, which is probably why if you try to break into the Assembly Center now, you won't have any luck. But that's the night I thought the PMAC really got going, was that the Southern Cal game, because they lost out on a lot of money. Or did it? The Cows liked it.
The cows.
Anybody else? Yes.
You have to scream it out.
When did you start working on the movie?
March of 2014 is when I started working.
Go for it.
So almost 10 years. Almost 10 years, sorry. Forgot about the mic. Go ahead.
Yes.
I want to find out, okay, so Drew and John. Drew, you're talking about a movie about Pete Maravich. And then maybe I didn't understand what you said. But I played basketball for St. Joseph Academy here in Baton Rouge. And we went to see Pistol Pete when I was a senior in 1969. And of course, we were like goo goo gaga over it. So I know there's a lot of film about Pete back then. So are you saying that the film you're doing is going to not include that? It's going to be like afterwards? I just couldn't understand. That's my question. What is your film about? Is it about Pete from the time he started playing basketball and when the St. Joseph Academy basketball team was goo goo gagas over him and on from that?
Got it. So when did my films in Pete's life, when does it start? So mine goes from his childhood through his adulthood, not all the way to his death, but so childhood through the NBA. A couple more questions, and that's probably about it.
Did you have follow-up?
No.
Okay.
I was concerned. I thought when John said, or when Drew said, that it's going to have some after, which that's awesome. That it,
There might be some footage with you in it.
Well, I think anybody who followed Pete's career remembers the day that he was doing the pickup basketball and passed away. And that's all I want to say. And I am a really good friend with Ralph Ukla, and he is the bomb. And all those guys that played with him, they are the bomb also.
Thank you.
You're right.
I have a request. Because of that traffic, I got here late.
That's Kurt.
Yes, I came from South Carolina. Could you show the film one more time for me?
Manship Theater.
I want to ask you guys about the number 24, why he wore it as a freshman, or changed, because 23 is pretty important. Because we see Jordan and LeBron and all these guys in 24. If it wouldn't be, if y'all know why he was 24, and or switched, or why he wasn't 23.
Ralph, Rusty, anybody know that 24 question answer? The only thing I've surmised over time about this is that they used to wear, I know we did it at Woodlawn, and believe me, we had no basketball story to tell. But you wore one number at home, and you wore a different number on the road. And I think the purple uniform was the 24 and the white uniform.
We got an answer. We got a very knowledgeable Pete Maravich fan.
Actually, we do.
Scott.
Everybody, good evening. So, the reason why Pete wore 24 versus 23 his freshman year, 23 was not an available number for the freshmen at that time. It just wasn't produced. The reason why he wore number 23, obviously now Michael Jordan has hijacked that, but the reason why Pete Maravich wore 23 is because his older brother Ronnie wore 23 and he idolized his brother Ronnie. So that's the long and the short of it. It just wasn't produced. He didn't get the number, and then when he went up to the varsity, he took on the number 24, and that brought him more. He was playing in North Carolina.
Scott Pollock, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Scott.
Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Rich Hickman wore number 24 as a freshman and also wore number 24 as a sophomore in the rest of his career. And I don't know, I can't say I saw the films, I was at the games, but I can't say I saw the films again of, was Pete wearing 24 as a freshman? I don't think so. And I think he was wearing 23 as a freshman too. Maybe that was just a picture taken with him having 24 on instead of 23. Ralph?
I thought I vaguely remember he wore a different number of freshman than he did the rest of the way. I couldn't go with Mr. 24.
Yeah, I just remember Hickman had that 24 and wanted 24 again as a sophomore. Because that's what I wore, and I wanted 24. And I was wearing 25. Because I ended up wearing 25.
Danny Brown's book has a lot of photos of Pete wearing that 24, but then you can also look at Wayne Fetterman, Marshall Terrell, their book Maravich that they did with Jackie Maravich. They'll talk about that as well in their book. I think we're going to do another encore presentation.
Yes, sir, one more question.
Okay, one more thing, just for the new movie, so I'm from Covington.
Okay.
And Father Woods, hello, we met tonight again. He was my coach in Little League, so it's funny how this all works, right? But my brother, Matt Shinover, played with Jason Maravich, and so the legacy does continue of winning. They were the mini basketball world champions with Jason Maravich and Matthew Shinover in Covington Recreation Department, where just small town, big win. So hey, in your next movie, look it up and do the research. Jason Maravich won the mini basketball world.
There you go. There's your championship.
Jason Maravich, are you here tonight? He was potentially coming. I don't know if he came.
Research that. Covington Recreation Department
Covington
won
Recreation.
the mini basketball World Series.
Hey, Drew, I have a question.
Trey, last question.
All right, it's for John. I have the Maravich magazine tonight, and before you leave, I would like your autograph first. And second, I want to ask you this. I was friends with Steve, with your friend Steve, and in the magazine, you captured Pete going around his back. Steve told me that's the greatest memory of his that he has, and he said that Pete went around his back in that photo and hit a shot. Is that true first, and what is your favorite memory of Pete on the basketball court?
Well, I got to tell you, the picture that you're talking about, we actually did a double spread in full color. Now, this is when we printed it. This was not something done. When we printed the book, we put it on a high-class portrait paper. And we were just trying to give everybody what they liked. The best picture I've ever seen of Pete Maravich is the centerfold of my book, Steve's book. It's the best picture. You're referring to the picture. Pete's about 3 feet off the ground. He's got the ball behind his back. I think they play in Pittsburgh. And there's a guy here, there's a guy there, and there's a guy here. And this is the best picture I've ever seen, my personal favorite. And it was taken by Sam King. Now, by Sam King, who Sam and I were very close friends for a long time. Sam and I were sitting side by side. I have a copy of that same picture. It doesn't even match up close. You can see it. He's got it there. He'll show it to you. That, to me, is the best picture ever taken of Pete Maravich. It shows the floppy socks. It shows the hair going all over the place. It shows 3 guys from Pittsburgh who have no clue about what the hell's going to happen. They're looking, and I will tell you what happened. You said, did he go around and scoop it in and drop it in the layup? No, he didn't. He went around and came back to the front and went between his legs. I don't remember who was on this side, but there was a basket scored. And it was scored behind these 3 guys from Pittsburgh saying to themselves the same thing I said when I saw it through a camera. How the hell did he do that? Excuse my French, but that's what I said. And that's the greatest picture I've ever seen of Pete Maravich.
Wow.
He didn't score, but he gave it up, and one of these guys scored.
Well, Steve loved that story. Steve Ellis loved that story.
Well, that's a true story.
Well, what is your favorite memory of something that Pete did on the court? That just stands.
Something that Pete did on the court.
What is your favorite memory of his?
Jeez.
Tennessee.
Huh?
Tennessee.
Probably against Tennessee, and these guys are much more involved in knowing what was going on. Tennessee used to play Pete, the coach was named Beers, and he used to think that basketball was played with your forearms, which meant that if you did anything on the floor, Ralph, you probably felt a couple of those elbows. The Tennessee guys, you get these big guys underneath and they just batter you. And he used to take 2 and 3 guys and play 2 and 3 guys on Pete. And I think one of Pete's favorite times occurred at the Assembly Center. And it shows, Rusty, it might have been you. And we have the picture. Setting the screen, and he goes up, and there's 3 guys from Tennessee who are flat-footed. One has been screened out, and Pete's about this high off the floor. He's shooting a jump shot. The reason I liked it so much, it was one of the first times anybody ever did an available light action shot in the cow barn. We figured out a way to do it without strobe lights. Wow. And it was the front cover of the Parade magazine. Remember those, every Sunday when they still had newspapers, they used to have those magazines?
Yes, sir.
Pete kind of let on, that was one of his favorite pictures, because it shows against Tennessee with the being triple team. One of his guys has given him a break, and he's this high off the floor.
Yeah.
He's up there with the ball up here, floppy socks, the hair going. That's my favorite picture that I shot.
Yeah.
And that Pete liked it an awful lot too.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, on Pete, if you had a ball game that Pete was in, if you wanted to pick out a favorite shot, somebody had it. I mean, every time something went on, you had a great shot. It was unbelievable. But the best I ever saw was Sam's.
That's awesome, man.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think we're going to do another. We got to move these
All right.
chairs.
Anyway, look, thank y'all, everybody. We appreciate y'all coming.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, the play you asked about, that play, that's when he got hurt.
This one, what he got hurt?
This is where he got
You
hurt.
can wait.
See the 3
Nice
guys
meeting you.
in there?
Yeah.
There's not a single one of them with a ball. It went between his legs. That's why one of him. Who's 22?
33.
33.
What's his name? You phone with him?
Yeah.
He had to leave unless he's still around. He had a service dog.
Yeah, man, that's
Peterson, some program. See if they have any extra.
I didn't get
He was here. Is that the Florida player?
Hey, we want to see if we can get all the
No,
families
it's just a
together
guy.
and get a picture.
Big fan. Drove a long way.
Okay.
I want your autograph. I don't know where you want to sign it at.
Yeah, I
though.
wish I
I don't
would've
know
got
if we
me.
want to sign
Oh,
that.
He said to say
Or we want to do like Pete did.
Thank you.
I'd do it on this
All right,
because
let's do
that picture.
Should I stay or should
I'll,
Do you want to?
Let's do it on that.
where
Then.
you want me to
Sitting
put it?
around.
Just tell me where.
What's up?
Wherever you want to. Didn't the pistol sign one for you up here?
Right here.
Yeah.
I'd say go.
Yeah, you signed
I'll
it
put it
there.
in the same
Really
place.
want to hang
Let's
out.
do that.
I love you. Thanks for coming out. Thank you. You did. Crew member.
We want to
And
put
you met
today's
Ryan.
date
I
on
met-
it?
I introduced you to him. Did you meet my son? Hudson.
Look at that.
Ryan.
I just want to say
He's one
thank
of our
you
executive
for
producers.
having just for being smart enough to capture that story back then.
He was very helpful.
Me all these years later, man.
Well, I appreciate it. It wasn't hard. All we did do is tell the truth about Pete, and you had him.
And that interview, like you said, that interview was really special.
Well, he stayed with us for 3 days. Yeah, a lot of the pictures we shot, we went to Catholic High, and he did all the routine, all the stuff you see in there with the ball. He did all his drills. I have to tell you, it didn't come out tonight. We have the only picture that I know of. Drew knows about this. I have the only picture of Pete Maravich dunking the basketball in college.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
at that time, the dunk was illegal. You couldn't dunk in
In
college.
the game, you couldn't do it in the game.
Couldn't do it. And while we were there playing around with him, because we were having a good, if you see some of that stuff, and we had a great time with Pete for 3 days. And I'd say him a lot. That's why later on,
If it ever comes up, I don't give his number.
kind of asked that I go up and interview him in Savannah
No, no.
for this, because he knew me. And
No,
knew
no,
I would
that's all right.
Stick it to
He
him.
was in the
That's
NBA. You're
Yeah.
right.
That's all right.
Anyway,
But it was more, we were talking about having.
we were sitting up there, we were
decided.
kind of kidding around and everything. And I turned to Pete. I said, "Well, Pete," I said, "you can do all this stuff." I said, "But you're a white guy." I said, "You know, one thing you'll never dunk." He says, "I can dunk." I said, "Oh, come on, Pete. You know."
What's up,
I said,
man?
"Yeah, I can dunk."
Yeah,
I said,
thanks
"Pete,
for coming
look.
out.
Next time you dunk a basketball, I'll be able to dribble it behind my back." Well, he was laughing. He knew it. He said, "Damn it," he said, "I'm going to show you I can dunk." So I got my camera and set it up and actually went down, and I have the only picture of Pete Maravich dunking the basketball.
Up there, I gave him a little plug.
Kevin.
Somebody heard about that. I don't know how. Somebody heard about it. He called up and asked if I would be interested in selling it to him. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
That's a
Todd
special
was
thing,
here
man.
earlier.
That's a special
We've only
thing.
here from, like,
It's the only thing, but see, it's not in he's got his LSU t-shirt on, but he doesn't have his uniform. This is when we were doing our interviews. We were just kidding around at Catholic High after he did, but I have it.
Where's the high school at? You said?
Catholic High School here.
Catholic high school.
Yeah, Catholic High had that new gym, and LSU would go over there and play some of their games there.
I was wondering because I've seen some photos in like a gymnasium.
Yeah, that was at Catholic High. Yeah.
It's incredible. I want to see this dunking picture. I want to see it.
Well, I got it.
That's awesome.
So far, there's only been one person that's ever seen it. But somebody heard about it, and I wish I could tell you. It was about 8 or 10 years ago. I heard you have a picture of Pete Maravich dunking the bad guy. Yes, I did. Huh?
That's a priceless amount.
Well, I don't know if it became priceless because it's something I always wanted to keep. It's something probably that everybody ought to get to see. And now
He helped us.
I couldn't remember if it was priceless because I wanted to keep it or priceless because I couldn't figure out how much to charge.
How much to charge?
Because I'm in the photography business.
Just like your copy of this with Pistol's autograph and his dad's. I wonder how much that's worth.
It'd be crazy.
I would like to know that.
Because just by your magazine, like
You need a lot of different sets.
I mean, that's a
policies, college.
hot item on eBay. Like I said, I saw one the other day for $750.
How much?
$750.
$750. Well, that's most I'd ever heard of was $400, and that was Amazon came out and did a review on it.
Last week,
$750. Well,
Yeah.
there was 10,000 printed. There's not 10,000
Oh, yeah.
still
I
around.
didn't know that.
10,000.
See, I have no
So-
this hat.
Yeah, we printed 10,000 because we figured that we had to do 10,000 because we were only going to sell them for $1. We just wanted to break even.
Did y'all sell all 10,000?
We sold all 10,000, and we wound up with a profit of $41,
Yeah, thanks for
which the
coming.
profit proceeded to go and to
Sounds good.
have lunch on. That was our whole.
There's his brother. B? Yeah, Brad and B right there. Of course, there's Dad on that company here.
Oh, that company, the milk company?
Yeah. Look at that, nice.
I think I've got a copy.
Look at those
Do
photos.
you?
Somewhere.
Oh yeah, he was incredible.
I may have not been able to
Let me know
afford
if
it.
you
I
see
may have not
yourself.
been able to afford it back then.
Yeah, you couldn't pay $1 back there, right? Y'all didn't get
That's right.
paid to play.
That's you in there, Ralph. Is that 31?
Is that you, Ralph?
That's Ralph, yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's
sat in a
me.
pit.
Yeah.
That's Ralph right there.
Well, we know where you're going to autograph that from.
See if I got any more in here.
That's against Tennessee.
Yeah, 2 people on him right there. Look at that.
That's against Kentucky right there. That looks like, that's 23.
Yeah.
All right, I can't wait, Randy.
That's Ramsden.
I don't know how they
Looks like he got some advertising in here.
Yeah, you did.
That's one way you get.
I recognize that coach. Is that Georgia? Yeah, that's Georgia. That's Ken Roseman right there.
That's the one who's got tore up the film supposedly when Pete made his hook shot.
That's what I heard.
He tore it up?
Yeah.
Or he got rid of it, burned it or something.
Yeah.
Probably the only person, they didn't have cell phones back then.
I know.
So
Unbelievable.
there I am.
Yeah, there's Big Ralph.
There I am.
Look at it.
Oh, naturally, your
I mean, he
butt.
looks
Got his
like-
butt shot.
But he looks
Not
like
his
Hey, is that where you
butt.
gonna sign it?
he's the biggest one in there. Look at him.
Is that where you gonna sign it at, Ralph?
Got all these pictures of them doing all this
Big butt
stuff.
comes in handy sometimes.
That's the one we talked about.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
behind the
there's
back
Tribbett. There's
that's the
Tribbett.
question I
That's
asked.
that's Ramsden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I've seen this picture a lot. Yeah.
question is which way did he go?
Well, he's saying he dropped it off to Ram. Must have been somebody over here.
I bet you got Tribbett.
Yeah, probably.
What a moment.
Yeah.
I had to guess.
Yeah, I would too. Is that Corley? Or is that me?
I think that's you.
Yeah, that's me right there.
There you are.
Yeah.
We know where you're going to autograph it then.
There's Apple.
There you are.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, that's you. That's not Apple.
I'm getting a lot of PR.
Well, he was always there to
boxing,
rebound.
Always boxing somebody off.
Oh yeah, here's the star. Star's right here. Look how skinny he was as a sophomore. Oh,
So that's when they kind of like screwed him, right?
I've got
like,
that same shot.
But you know, we did win the All-College Oklahoma City Classic when he was a junior. We were seniors.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's Hester. At Auburn.
That's Miguel. Remember Miguel?
Oh yeah, sure.
I asked him about Pete. He told me that he and Pete became really good friends.
Is that right? Yeah, he played in the NBA too.
And said that Miguel said I had scored like 50 points, 55 points, and I'd called Pete up and I kind of bragged to Pete. And then the next week he scored 69 against Alabama.
That's right.
Show me up.
Yeah.
There it is. Had the picture of it before it was made. Right there, a picture of the PMAC.
Oh, yeah.
You guys never did get to play in it, though, right?
I'd played in it, but it was AAU
I mean,
team.
not with-
Yeah, not at LSU.
There you go.
Did you play independent ball?
See, I want y'all to autograph that for me if you can.
Dick Maley played for a while.
Oh yeah,
You know Dick?
Yeah, Dick was
a couple of years ahead of you.
Yeah, he graduated 64. He was.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
There you go.
Look at that. That's great. You pointed it out. That's awesome.
Which one do you want to sign, Ralph?
So what was Press doing there? Was he cussing y'all out at that point?
He's probably telling us something. Telling us you little dumb sons of bitches.
That's what I heard that he did, man.
Either that or he was drawing up another play.
Yeah.
Drawing up what?
He
Yeah, but that was kind of the Serbian.
Oh yeah.
That was their kind of thing.
But you know what? He was a Christian before he became a born-again Christian because when I was his assistant at Appalachian State, he'd read the Bible every night.
See, that
He'd
shows.
watch TV. When it'd go off, he'd read the Bible. He would draw up plays, and then he'd bring them to the office to me. He said, "Rusty, come in here. I want to show you this new offense." So I was saying,
So you started out as his assistant with Press
at Appalachian
after
State.
you played here at LSU,
Right.
and that got you into your coaching career.
That's right.
So I guess do you give Press a lot of like credit for like philosophy and?
Oh yeah, for X's.
So let me ask you this, Rusty. How great a coach, basketball-wise, was Press Maravich?
He was. I mean, he's really adored in North and South Carolina because when he was at NC State, see, he actually took over for Everett Case, who's an unbelievable legend at NC State. But actually, Everett Case took him from Clemson, who was the head coach, and said, "Press, if you will come with me, I'm not doing well. My health-wise not good." He knew he had cancer.
Oh wow.
So he told Press, he said, "I'm not going to be able to coach many more games, and you're going to be the head coach." That's why he went. Plus, he paid him more than he was making as an assistant.
Which was probably nothing back then, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, for sure, because he wasn't, because Frank Howard, the AD and football coach at Clemson, matter of fact, when he hired him, Press didn't even ask him what he's going to make because he's coming from a high school coach.
Yeah.
So he was so excited about the job. And then when he saw his first paycheck, he said, "This can't be right." So we went down to him. He said, You didn't ask for a salary. So this is what I gave you."
Unbelievable, Rusty. Well, what I wanted to ask both you and Ralph, y'all can get in here together. I'm doing like a document. You know, Ralph knows what I do.
know exactly what you're doing.
I have a YouTube show, Globe Trotting with Trey. I have 20,000 subscribers. So I'm going to do some history videos for Pete. And I go to locations. Like I was at the Cow Palace today. I went to y'all's locker room. So I'm going to put some shows. Oh, yeah. It's small compared to what we're used to now. But, man, what I wanted to ask both of you guys, just like I asked John in there, what is that one memory of Pete's that you have that stands out? Something that he did on the court that is just like, how did you know, wow.
The biggest memory that I had was when I was a senior and Pete was a junior. We were playing at the University of Georgia, and we finally sold the game up, and Pete looks up the clock, so he goes into his Marcus Haynes routine.
Marcus Haynes, yeah.
Dribbling all over between his legs, behind his back, and those guards were trying to steal it from him. He looks up the clock again, he sees it's about 4 seconds, so he dribbles the ball out to the far corner.
Okay.
And actually throws up a hook shot, just like Goose Stadium with the Globetrotters. And I mean, it hit nothing but the bottom of the net.
Nothing but net.
And nothing but net. And I'd been playing with him for 2 years, and I was jumping up and down like a little kid. And everybody was so excited. And the University of Georgia students were so excited, they came down the court, they put him on their shoulders, and they carried him off the court.
Unbelievable, man.
That's by far probably the most memorable thing that I can remember of Pete. I mean, some of the other ones is, I think one time, I think it was down to Tulane. Pete had a bad leg, and their Tulane coach kept yelling, "Make him go left, make him go left." So he went left all night and scored 60 points. So
I thought he got 68 there.
It was 60 something.
Yeah.
60 plus.
Hey, they held him. They held him to 60. Yeah. Is that not? They held him to 60.
Tom DeSalty was the coach at Tulane. Yeah.
Well, in practice and stuff, man, would he go full out in practice? Would he?
You know, in practice, what Pete would do, he would just mainly pass the ball in practice. He worked on his passing.
He letting y'all score in practice, right?
Score in practice.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Man, it's just I became a fan of Pete's through my dad. My dad will be in the Hall of Fame as a basketball coach in Alabama, high school coach. My granddad's in the Hall of Fame as a high school coach in Alabama, and both my granddad and dad have 1,400 wins between them.
Wow.
Father son coaching. And I played for my dad, and I went to played at Auburn Montgomery in AIA school.
Right.
But it was all really pretty much because of Pete and my granddad and dad. They had homework basketball.
I've coached against Auburn Montgomery.
Coach Chapman.
That's right.
That was my coach. And so that homework basketball, I just started doing the drills like Pete because I wanted to play like him.
Right.
And I did. I would throw behind the back passes, and they called me White Chocolate because I was the only white guy.
You and Jason Williams.
And Jason Williams was big at that time, you know.
Yeah.
And but Pete was just like, wow, he was that guy that you were like, man, his game, I mean, it lasts. I mean,
I want to be like Michael, like I want to be like Pete.
Well, MJ, I'm friends with one of Michael's best friends that grew up with him. And I believe he was Michael Jordan, David Bridgers in Wilmington, North Carolina. DB and Michael, DB's a white guy. And Mr. J, Michael's dad, kind of took DB in. And they played on the same baseball team when they're 10 years old. And just they're still as close today as ever. And I think Pete, 23 was a lot because of Pete.
Oh, yeah.
From Michael.
Yeah.
No question.
That was one of their guys, So, But yeah, guys, I appreciate y'all. And, thank y'all for what y'all did. I know how it is as a basketball player, all the practices and the running and all that, getting cussed out by your coach and stuff. But, man, it's worth it today, right?
Yeah, no question.
That's part of the game.
Part of the game.
That's the thing. These kids now, something you yell at them, they quit. So,
Ralph, are you in the documentary, that 2001 awesome documentary they did on CBS on Pete? Are you in there when he threw the behind the back pass? He's not hitting you in the head with it, is he?
No.
Who was that he hit?
I never got hit in the head.
That was who was that? That was.
That might have been Apple.
Yeah.
It bounced a lot.
Because you graduated
Yeah.
the year before Pete was a senior.
Yeah.
When did you graduate?
The same year.
Y'all went out one year.
We played with him 2 years. Yeah.
Those first 2 years. So you didn't see.
And he got to guard him his fresh Pete.
All right.
Year.
And I'll let y'all leave on that. What is it like guarding Pete in practice?
Well, all you could do is try to take something away, and normally he would, if you're going to take this away, I'm going to use this against you. He was extremely difficult. It's like a friend of mine said,
I guarded him in the North Carolina High School All-Star game and held him to 42 points.
Held him to 42.
Yeah.
He was just so quick with that dribble.
Yeah.
You know, he had that where he could just bounce it, and all of a sudden he'd hit it 3 times.
He'd be by you.
And he'd be by you, man.
I remember some times, though, he'd come down, he'd be dribbling, and then his feet start going. You know, he starts doing that stutter step.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there going, that poor guy, he has no prayers.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he come up on him, he's around. If he didn't come up, he takes the jump shot.
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite memory of his through highlights is one of you guys threw him a full court pass, and he catches the ball running out of bounds under the goal. And I swear, he catches the ball in midair, and then in one motion, he flips the ball off that catch around his head to one of you guys cutting for a layup. And one of y'all's teammates caught the ball and hit a layup. That's the greatest thing I think I ever saw him do, as far as highlight-wise.
In one game, he got the outlet, and as soon as he took one dribble, defense just jumped right in front of him, and he took it and threw that thing behind his back to the length of the court and to somebody, I don't know who it was.
Probably Tribbett or something.
Maybe Tribbett, all the way down. He caught it and laid it up. It was unbelievable how he could just react so quick to that situation and then throw it the length of the court behind his back. It was unbelievable.
I just wish somebody would have, like John did with the magazine, they would have thought, man, we've got to save all these videos. We've got to put a movie together on this guy. I think it'd have been a movie back then. Just, you know, if somebody had the hindsight to save all the footage. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
That's cool right there.